The sound of camera shutters echoed like machine gun fire outside the towering federal courthouse in downtown Manhattan. Reporters shoved microphones toward a single black SUV that had just pulled up to the curb. Out stepped someone no one ever expected to see in this setting, Justin Bieber. Dressed in a sharp black suit, his eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses, he strode toward the entrance without saying a word. Inside, the atmosphere was suffocating. Journalists, spectators, and attorneys murmured, trying to process what was happening. On the far end of the courtroom, Sean "Diddy" Combs, the music mogul entangled in a web of federal charges ranging from racketeering to conspiracy, sat motionless, staring straight ahead. Just minutes earlier, a notification had exploded across every social media feed. Breaking: Justin Bieber called to testify in Diddy's federal case. Nobody knew why. Nobody saw it coming. Before we dive into this unbelievable story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the wildest stories behind the fame, fortune, and scandals. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The judge banged the gavel. Order in the court. As Justin took the witness stand, even the most seasoned reporters leaned forward, holding their breaths. How did a global pop star, once known for teenage anthems and tabloid drama, become a key figure in one of the biggest scandals the music industry has ever seen? To answer that, you have to rewind the clock. Justin Bieber, now 31, had come a long way from the floppy-haired YouTube sensation discovered at age 13. His life had been a public roller coaster: meteoric rise to stardom, battles with substance abuse, public breakdowns, and a highly publicized redemption arc culminating in marriage and a return to music with a more mature tone. But what the world never knew was the depth of his early entanglement with the power players behind the scenes, and at the center of that web was none other than Diddy. It all started around 2014, when Justin, then barely 20, found himself frequenting Diddy's infamous private parties. These were more than just celebrity hangouts. They were networking hubs for the elite, where billion-dollar deals were whispered over champagne, and where the lines between legal and illegal blurred dangerously. Diddy, for his part, was a kingmaker. His empire spanned music, fashion, liquor, and media. To the public, he was a savvy businessman and cultural icon. But according to federal prosecutors, behind the glamour was a darker reality, one that involved financial crimes, coercion, and manipulation of artists under the guise of mentorship. Enter Ariana Matthews, the lead federal prosecutor on the case. Known in legal circles as the Velvet Guillotine, for her unnerving combination of charm and ruthlessness, Ariana had spent years assembling a case that many thought impossible to crack. Taking down Diddy wasn't just about legal evidence, it was about piercing a cultural fortress. Then there was Terrell Banks, Diddy's longtime head of security. A mountain of a man with a reputation for loyalty and silence. Yet in recent months, Terrell had mysteriously disappeared from the public eye. Rumors suggested he was in talks with the FBI. In the shadows, Rachel Simmons, a relentless investigative journalist, had been chasing this story for years. She'd seen artists rise and fall, chewed up by the machinery of the industry. But even she wasn't prepared for the moment Justin Bieber decided to break his silence. The courtroom was electric. Diddy, usually the image of composure, clutched the table, jaw tense. His attorneys exchanged frantic whispers. Justin adjusted his tie, took a sip of water, and leaned toward the microphone. "My name is Justin Drew Bieber," he began, voice steady, but weighted with emotion. "And I'm here because I can't stay silent anymore." A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Even the judge, a seasoned veteran of high-profile cases, briefly paused, processing the gravity of what had just been said. Justin took a deep breath. His fingers trembled slightly as he gripped the edges of the witness stand. "I was part of circles. Circles I thought were just about business, success, and networking. But there was more happening behind closed doors than anyone wanted to believe." The prosecutor, Ariana Matthews, stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Mr. Bieber, can you explain how you became involved in the events related to Mr. Combs?" Justin nodded, swallowing hard. "It started in 2014. I was young, wild. I was invited to one of Diddy's private events in Los Angeles. I thought it was just a party. I didn't realize the kinds of conversations and deals that went on there. The courtroom grew impossibly quiet as he continued. By 2016, things escalated, Justin said. I was asked to sign an NDA, not the usual type. This one was specific, detailed. It covered things I didn't fully understand at the time. Financial arrangements, rules about what could never be spoken about, who could never be mentioned. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document. The room collectively leaned in. Ariana approached, retrieving the paper and handing it to the clerk, who quickly scanned it into the court record. Diddy's lead attorney, Marcus Levin, jumped to his feet. Objection! This document is privileged, overruled, the judge snapped without hesitation. On the screen, the NDA projected in full view. Sections were heavily redacted, but one paragraph stood clear. The undersigned acknowledges awareness of financial and personal arrangements involving undisclosed parties and agrees to perpetual confidentiality under threat of legal and financial penalty. Ariana zeroed in. Mr. Bieber, did you feel pressured to sign this? Justin nodded. Absolutely. I was told my career could be steered in the wrong direction if I didn't. Diddy sat back in his chair, lips pursed, shaking his head. What were these arrangements referring to? Ariana pressed. Justin glanced around the room, his eyes lingering on Diddy. It wasn't just about music. It was about people being used. Money being shuffled in ways that had nothing to do with records or concerts. And favors that weren't legal. A thunderstorm of typing filled the air as reporters bashed their keyboards, fighting to get the words out to the world before anyone else. Then came the real shocker. There was one night, Justin said, voice tightening. I overheard a conversation between Diddy and a major studio executive. They were talking about someone, an artist who wanted out. Out of the contract, out of the system, Diddy said, and I quote, "We don't let anyone walk away clean." The courtroom erupted. Gasps, shouts from the audience, cameras clicking furiously. The judge slammed the gavel. Order! Order! Even Ariana looked momentarily stunned. She quickly composed herself. Mr. Bieber, do you remember who the executive was? Justin hesitated. I do. Ariana's voice lowered. Name them. Justin looked directly at Diddy, whose eyes blazed with a mix of fear and fury. It was Victor Harrington, CEO of Stellar Media Group. Another wave of gasps. Victor Harrington was one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, with ties to every major record label and streaming service. Ariana turned toward the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, this goes far beyond one man. This is about a system. Diddy's attorney furiously whispered into his ear. Diddy's hands trembled, not from rage this time, but from something far rarer in his world, fear. The media frenzy outside the courtroom exploded. Hashtags like Bieber bombshell and Diddy trial immediately trended worldwide. Inside, as silence settled again, Ariana asked one more question. Mr. Bieber, are you prepared to testify about everything you witnessed? Justin straightened his back. Yes, all of it. The air grew heavier as the prosecutor signaled for the next exhibit. A large flat screen rolled forward. Ariana tapped her tablet and a photo appeared, grainy, taken at night. It showed a lavish Beverly Hills mansion glowing under floodlights, with limousines and black SUVs lined outside. Mr. Bieber, Ariana said, do you recognize this location? Justin leaned forward, sighing. Yeah, that's the Harrington estate. This photo is from the night of the party in 2015. The night something went wrong, Ariana confirmed. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Justin nodded. It started like any other party in that circle. Exclusive A-list, no cameras allowed. Celebrities, executives, politicians, people you'd never expect to see in the same room. Ariana paced slowly. What happened that night? Justin's eyes darkened. There was a meeting in the East Wing behind closed doors. I wasn't supposed to be there, but I was looking for a friend and overheard them talking. Who was in the room? Diddy, Victor Harrington, two other executives whose faces I recognized but didn't know by name, and a senator. I won't say who unless compelled, but yes, a sitting senator. Gasps filled the room. They were discussing someone who was threatening to expose certain arrangements. Money laundering through fake shell companies, artists being used as fronts for financial transactions that had nothing to do with music, and worse. Ariana paused. Worse? Justin's face tightened. There were implications of coercion, people being silenced, not just with money but threats. I heard Diddy say, "No one leaves the circle. You either play the game or disappear." The jury sat frozen, wide-eyed. Meanwhile, Diddy's attorney stood abruptly. "Objection! Hearsay! Speculation!" The judge shook his head. "Overruled. The witness is recounting first-hand experience." Justin continued. "I left that party shaken. For months afterward, I tried to distance myself. But contracts, appearances, business ties. It wasn't that easy." Rachel Simmons, seated among the press, feverishly scribbled into her notebook. She'd heard whispers of this for years, but never anything this concrete. Ariana stepped closer. "Did anyone ever attempt to silence you?" Justin swallowed. "Yes. About a year later, I received a package, no return address. Inside was a single photo of my family. No note. Nothing else." "Just the image." The crowd collectively gasped. "Did you report it?" "I tried, but every lawyer I spoke to, he told me to stay quiet. That fighting people at this level wasn't worth it. They made it sound like it was safer to just pretend nothing happened." The tension in the courtroom hit a breaking point. Diddy shifted in his seat, glaring at his legal team. Then, Ariana made her next move. She pulled a sealed evidence bag from the table. "Mr. Bieber, do you recognize this?" Inside the bag was a USB drive, labeled only with a single letter. T. Justin's eyes widened. Yeah, I've seen that. That belonged to Terrell Banks." Murmurs exploded again. Terrell, the silent bodyguard, had been missing from public view for months. Ariana faced the court. "This drive was anonymously delivered to the FBI less than 24 hours ago. We have every reason to believe it contains audio files, financial records, and documentation corroborating Mr. Bieber's testimony." Diddy visibly stiffened. His hand trembled as he whispered something urgently to his lawyer. The judge adjusted her glasses. "Is the prosecution prepared to present its contents?" Ariana nodded. "Yes, Your Honor, but I warn the court, what you're about to hear may change everything." The tension in the room became unbearable. Journalists rushed to tweet updates. The world was watching. Justin sat back, closing his eyes, as if preparing for a storm long overdue. Ariana tapped the keyboard, and the courtroom speakers crackled to life. Everyone leaned in as the first audio file began to play. It started with muffled background noise, glasses clinking, faint music, indistinct chatter. Then, two distinct voices emerged. The first was unmistakably Diddy. The second belonged to Victor Harrington. "We can't let this leak," Diddy's voice said, sharp and commanding. "We've cleaned up bigger messes before." "This one's no different," Victor responded, tone cold. "If he talks, it won't be just you going down, it's all of us." Diddy snapped back. "Then handle it. You know what to do." The room fell utterly silent. No one breathed. Then came another clip. Different conversation, clearer this time. Diddy's voice again. "How much does it take to make someone forget? 5 mil, 10? If that don't work?" "There are other ways." A loud bang echoed in the audio, possibly a fist hitting a table. Victor's voice was laced with frustration. "We've been running this for 20 years, Sean. 20. If one person flips, the whole damn house collapses." The courtroom was paralyzed. Even the judge blinked, visibly disturbed. Ariana stopped the recording. "Members of the jury, this is just a portion. The drive contains dozens of conversations like this, dating back over a decade. Financial documents, offshore accounts, falsified contracts, all pointing back to Mr. Combs and his associates." Diddy sat frozen. his usual swagger, the ever-present grin, gone. For the first time, his face reflected something rare, genuine panic. His attorney shot up. "Your Honor, we request an immediate recess." The judge shook her head. "Request denied." Diddy slammed his fist against the table. "This is BS. None of this should have seen the light of day." Ariana turned calmly. "That's the point, Mr. Combs. It's finally seeing the light." Suddenly, Diddy stood, glaring straight at Justin. "You think you're clean, huh? You think you can sit there and act like you weren't part of it?" Justin stood too, his voice sharp but controlled. "I was young, stupid. I got pulled into your world before I knew what was happening. But unlike you, I walked away. And now, I'm done protecting monsters." The tension exploded. Court officers stepped in, placing themselves between the two men as Diddy continued to yell, "You're a traitor! You wouldn't have a career without me!" Justin shot back. "Then maybe losing it was the best thing that ever happened to me." The judge banged the gavel repeatedly. "Order! Order in this court!" As security restrained Diddy, the jury stared in disbelief. This wasn't just a trial anymore. This was the unraveling of a legacy built on intimidation and power. In the back row, Rachel Simmons whispered to the reporter beside her, "This is the biggest story of the decade. No, of the century." Ariana took the moment of silence to deliver her final blow for the day. Given the evidence presented, the prosecution will be filing additional charges. This case is no longer just about Mr. Combs. It's about a criminal enterprise that has operated unchecked within the highest levels of the entertainment industry. Gasps echoed again. As Diddy's legal team scrambled, phones buzzed across the room. Breaking alerts flashed everywhere. Diddy's empire crumbling. Federal case expands to include top industry executives. Justin, hands trembling slightly but steady in his resolve, sat back down. For the first time in years, he looked free. And yet, everyone knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The sun was setting over Manhattan as the courtroom slowly emptied, but the impact of what had just unfolded would ripple for years. News helicopters circled the courthouse, broadcasting live to millions glued to their screens worldwide. Inside, the judge adjourned the day's session. "Court will reconvene Monday morning. Until then." Court is adjourned. With the slam of the gavel, the tension broke, but the consequences were just beginning. As Diddy was escorted out through a private hallway, reporters swarmed the building's front steps. His legal team refused to comment. No smiles, no bravado. The once untouchable mogul now looked like a man cornered with nowhere left to run. Meanwhile, Justin exited through a side door surrounded by security. Microphones and cameras flashed in his face. For a brief moment, he paused. A reporter shouted, "Justin, are you afraid of retaliation?" He pulled off his sunglasses, meeting the cameras head-on. "Afraid? Yeah. But I'm more afraid of what happens if no one speaks up." His voice was firm, but there was no trace of the reckless boy the media once loved to scandalize. This was a man who had seen too much, and finally decided to do something about it. "All I ever wanted was to make music," he continued. "But when the system you're in isn't just broken, it's toxic. You have two choices. Stay silent, or burn it down." With that, he stepped into his SUV and drove away, leaving the world buzzing. But just when everyone thought the day's shocks were over, another breaking alert exploded on screens everywhere. New bombshell. Former Stellar Media CFO agrees to testify, alleging deeper corruption involving multiple labels, political figures, and international money laundering. It wasn't just about Diddy anymore. The dam had burst. Inside her office, Ariana Matthews leaned back in her chair, staring at the stacks of evidence growing by the hour. She knew this was only the beginning. Behind every file, every voice recording, every NDA were more names, more secrets. Rachel Simmons uploaded her latest report, The Fall of an Empire, to her platform, knowing full well that what was coming next could redefine the entire entertainment industry. As for Diddy, sources confirmed that key sponsors were pulling out. His liquor brands were suspended by distributors. Partnerships collapsed overnight. Bank accounts were frozen. Longtime friends in the business went silent. His empire wasn't just wobbling, it was imploding. Meanwhile, social media became a war zone. Fans debated fiercely. Some supported Justin, applauding his courage. Others accused him of betrayal or worse, opportunism. But one thing was undeniable. The silence that had protected powerful men for decades was shattered. As the camera zoomed out on the courthouse, YouTube notifications popped up with thumbnails screaming, "The secrets Justin Bieber just exposed. Diddy's worst nightmare, what happens now? How deep does this go?" The industry's darkest truths. And just before the feed ended, another alert buzzed in. More witnesses stepping forward, names bigger than anyone expected. If you thought this story was wild, trust me, it's only just beginning. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for the latest updates as this case continues to unfold. And click on the video appearing right now on your screen for even more shocking revelations about how the music industry's biggest secrets are finally coming to light. You don't want to miss it.